members who are here that have served in our military. I greatly appreciate it for those families who have sacrificed. I totally appreciate that also. I lost my son 2 years ago. Phyllis lives here in Rochester, my sister. Her godson, Christopher, was killed over in Iraq in March 17th, 2008. Last year, I believe it was, we were at the time of remembrance ceremony. I had the opportunity to meet this wonderful guy. I heard all about him, and I'm like, I got to come on board with this. So it's been a pleasure now for almost a year to be able to work with the founder of Honor and Remember. And I will introduce him now. It's Mr. George Lutz.
Thank you. You don't have to be this formal, so everyone please just relax. I'm just here as a voice on a mission, I guess, and I'm just a dad. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got on this mission so that you understand the importance of what I'm doing, and hopefully you will embrace this journey that I'm on and spread it and support it in whatever way possible. But on December 29th of 2005, I lost my son in Iraq. He was killed by a sniper sometime that morning. And the next day, like many families experience, there was that knock on the door with two uniformed soldiers with those words, "We regret to inform you." It's the worst phrase that any parent could hear in their lifetime. And so, how do you handle that? What do you think about? What do you go through? What emotions are you struggling with? Of course, we all know that there are stages of grief, and certainly you go through those. My first thought was, certainly they've got the wrong house, or maybe he was wounded, maybe there was something different, but not the finality of his loss. And so I struggled with that for a little while, and what I began to do is what many parents do, and I want to give you a sense of this because some of the families here know exactly what I'm talking about. Others of you may not know exactly what that emotion is like and what those experiences are like. So I just give you an opportunity just to hear it from a very personal perspective. But what I began to do was I began to collect all the memories that I could find that had anything to do with my son, because I knew there would be no more. We would not be making new memories. I'd never hear his voice again. I'd never see him walking through the door. And so I went on this search, this internal search of the house to find anything, videotapes from when he was a boy, or emails. We're in this age of emails now. He had written actually 2 handwritten letters, which he'd never written to me in his life, I don't think, except for a birthday card or Father's Day card that just said, "Love, Tony." He wasn't a huge writer. So here I had 2 handwritten letters from him when he was in boot camp. And pictures, of course, many pictures that we could find. And anything that had his handwriting scribbled on it became important. A crumpled up piece of paper with an errand list that we could find was meaningful. But there comes a time when those things end. You can't find anything else. You go, room by room and box by box, and you try to search out whatever you can find. But there becomes a time when there's an end to that. And then you sit and you think and you wonder, okay, now, who else might have something? And then you look out to his friends. Of course, you already have reached out to extended family, but to his friends. And you want to hear stories, and you want to know, how did he live his life when he wasn't around you? Because they were adults and they had their own ways about them, and they certainly had their friendships, their jobs, their relationships. So you wanted to hear about those, and you wanted to know how he lived his life, and then even that came to a final end because there wasn't anybody else to talk to. And then you thought about those he was with and those he served with. And you hoped that there would be stories about his division, his unit, his battalion, whatever he was a part of, because you wanted to know how did he serve with his comrades, and how did what did they think of him, and even to the point where on the morning of my son's death, I wanted to know what he said to anybody. I don't care what it was. What did he have for breakfast? I wanted anything that I could hold on to that would give me one more moment of memory. And even that ended. He's been gone for almost 5 years now. And I don't hear very often from many people now. But after I went through all of that process, I thought to myself, he died for his country. What was the nation doing to remember him? So I went on that search. And of course, as many families will tell you, they've got streets named after their children, buildings. There's monuments everywhere with etched names on them. All important things. That's why when you hear, I don't know about up here in New York, but in Virginia we had this big controversy because we had a wall of names, and some names were left off because of their cause of death. They might not have died in theater, they might have died in training. And so we had this big controversy of whose name goes on a wall. Well, I will tell you, to a parent, it makes no difference how their son or daughter, husband or wife died. They're not coming home, and they want to be remembered. And I think the very least that we can do as Americans is remember them in whatever form or fashion that is. When we start having controversy over whether a name should be on a wall or not, I say, err on the side of honor. Let's remember those individuals. So I started to look around, and then I thought to myself, I see signs everywhere that say support our troops, pray for our troops. Wonderful expressions that we need to have. But as Americans, that only is a part of the population of who goes over there. Because when we lose someone, that bumper sticker doesn't apply to them anymore. That's what I thought anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's what I saw. When I saw that yellow ribbon, don't stop flying them. But when I saw that yellow ribbon, I thought, that doesn't apply to him anymore. What does apply to him? And I kept looking for that. And I'd hear on the radio and on TV occasionally, we'll never forget. That was about as far as it went, because there wasn't any follow-through on that. And I began to get a little irritated about that, because I realized that as a nation, we believe, and this is just the programming in our brains, that we will support our military until we lose one. And then we'll remember them on Memorial Day. And I never stop remembering. And we all live under that freedom of their sacrifice every day. And I thought it was a little selfish that we could do that and not remember why we have those freedoms and the importance of that to all of us. And I thought, well, how can I do that? Because when I look at the memorials, and there's wonderful memorials in New York alone, I've been to many of them. Albany alone has beautiful, beautiful memorials for every war. But I think, how many people will actually get there? How many people in this country will actually go to Washington and see the Vietnam Wall or see the World War II Memorial? Very few, and mostly on the East Coast. But tourists and veterans. And I thought, it's got to be bigger than that. There's got to be a way that we can get America to remember that freedom has a price. How do you do it? Because there is no bigger voice, there is no huge voice that can make that statement so that everyone understands it. I mean, pick any talk show, some of the bigger ones, Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or CNN. There's only a finite population that even listens to those. So there's no big statement you can make in any one venue that will really reach the whole population. So I started to attend the funerals of those that were lost after my son because I felt what they were feeling, and I wanted to be there and say, if nothing else, you don't know me, but I care. And unfortunately, there were far too many in our area, and I had an opportunity to speak to many families. And then I started to reach out to the families from past generations because I was so touched at what I was finding in those families in the current generation. I thought to myself, especially Vietnam, how were those families treated when they lost someone? I mean, I hear stories of soldiers having to sneak their way back into the United States, not to come back in uniform, to come in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning so that nobody knew that they were coming back. How much worse was it for moms and dads and widows to not be able to openly share that they had lost their loved one? And I found the 2 most important things in this country that were important to these families were, please don't let this have been in vain, and please don't let them be forgotten. Now, I can tell you that in my travels and in my conversations with veterans and active duty, that as long as the United States flag flies freely above this land, then no sacrifice will ever have been in vain, no matter what the situation was. And then I began to think about the remembering part, and about the nation, and about the public, because it's not about the military, and it's not about the veterans, because they do a great job. That's how these monuments are being built. But what about the 90% of the population that doesn't get it and just don't understand? And I saw that POW flag out there flying everywhere I went, and it's grown to mean so much more than just the conflict in Southeast Asia. But I saw that flying everywhere, and I thought, what an honor it was for that group of individuals that needed to be remembered because they were missing or captured. And it was a military symbol, and it was adopted by the United States of America, U.S. Congress. It took 18 years, by the way, but it was finally adopted as a national symbol. And I thought, the fallen need a flag. Those that gave their lives for this country, from the beginning of our country's history, need a public symbol that reminds us of sacrifice. Remember, I said going back to those monuments that many will not get there, and how can you get a voice big enough? Well, I thought if I can get, and I'm, again, just a dad with a very small message at 2 years ago, I thought in a really huge way that if I could get a symbol flying around this nation, and I can get people flying it everywhere, then that was the voice. Because that became the message. And nobody could avoid it. Everybody would have to see it. And then people would have to ask, what is that? I've never seen that before. And that became the mission. And so 2 years ago, the Honor Remember flag was created for just that purpose, to fill a void because of all the flags we have in this country, for everything in this country. You think about what we have flags for. Every state has a flag, every branch of the service has a flag, every ship in the Navy has a flag, Division 98 has their own flag, everyone has their own flag, but there's never been a flag to recognize the lives lost in service to this country. I think it's time. So, the Honor and Remember flag was created 2 years ago on Memorial Day, May 26th, 2008.
Do you want us to hold it for you, George?
Well,
We can do it. Double hit, please.
I probably don't have to explain the symbolism to you, but I will. So you'll be able to share that. The red field stands for the sacrifice of blood shed for this country. The white field beneath it stands for the purity of that sacrifice, because our men and women, each one, to a person, said, I'll be back. Don't worry, I've got it covered. The blue star in the center of that field goes back to World War I, when a blue star, solid blue star banner, you may have them around you, were hung on the windows and doors of military families to let everyone know who passed by that they had someone in the fight. That gold star overlaying that blue star, we recognize as that life lost. Gold Star family. That's where we get that term. Gold Star mother, Gold Star father. This nation does not know what a Gold Star family is, but they will. The folded flag beneath those stars, everyone universally understands is a life that's been lost for this country. A folded flag handed to a family at the memorial of their loved one. This country was built on one folded flag at a time and represents a single life lost. The flames above it, an eternal reminder that we will never forget. We hear it all the time, but on this flag, we will never forget. And the words, we will always honor their sacrifice and remember them specifically by name, because these were not statistics. These men and women all have names. They all have families, and extended families, and friends, and veterans, and the comrades that they served with. And they don't forget, not one day. Not one day. There is a bill in Congress right now to officially designate the Honor and Remember flag as the emblem of sacrifice, representing all wars from the beginning of our nation's history. It's sitting in committee, and we've been waiting on that. But Congress is a slow-moving machine, and I realized that it had to come from the bottom up and not the top down. This message had to be taken out to the people, to let them know the importance of what we need to remember, and get them behind this, and get them to fly it, and to share it, and to be a part of it. We have had, in the last 2 years, and I'm just finding this out myself, 15 states that have written legislation to officially recognize the Honor and Remember flag. I thought it was only 9 until Monday. And as I was in Albany, one of the legislators said, oh, well, when I Googled it, you were up to 15. This is happening on its own. I'm a very small team, but I believe that the message is resonating in such a powerful way that it's beginning to ripple and ripple and ripple. 2 states I know of have officially adopted it as state symbols of remembrance, and that is Oklahoma and Virginia. I know others are working that into their legislation, but many states are out of session right now, and so they haven't been able to actually put it into play. But the mission that I'm on, and I realized 6 months ago that I needed, it was harder to reach by necessarily word of mouth and by the internet, but I needed to go out and start to meet people. And I start and to go to legislators at state capitals and to meet with Gold Star families and veterans and share the mission, because what I'm finding is that it's not about whether or not it's going to be embraced. It's just education. Because as I'm able to share this and people see how important this is and the power of what this symbol could mean, they're on board this time. I mean, and that is the validation, I think, that as I travel, I'm able to glean. So it's been just a wonderful, incredible mission. This is the 10th state that we have visited. And I have had commitments from legislators in every single state so far. We are going to be traveling to all 50 states. Before I get back home, I've left the family behind. And I do have 5 children, by the way, and 5 grandchildren. And it was tough being away on Father's Day, I'll tell you. But we have 40 more states to go. And We began the week after Memorial Day, and we will end on Veterans Day in Arlington Cemetery on November 11th with a final ceremony. And you're all invited to be there if you're anywhere close to Washington. But I want to show you one other special piece of this flag. And because my heart was to give a gift to the family, and that gift to me was to be able to have this flag flying across this nation so that they could see that Americans did care, that they were concerned about the price of freedom, and they did want to remember. That became my gift, my memorial to them in a sense. But as I was on that mission, something else came very special to me, and I'm a strong man of faith, so I'll just have to honestly tell you that I believe God spoke to me in a very personal way. And that message was this: the flag is okay, and I'll be with you along the mission, but I want you to touch lives personally. And I want you to make sure that they know that their loved one was remembered and that their sacrifice will never be forgotten. And so the design of this flag enables it to be personalized. And I want to show you that our secondary mission, which really is my more primary mission, is to reach every family, immediate family in America who has ever lost a loved one in sacrifice to this country. And it is my goal as an organization that we will present flags personally, remembering them specifically by name, as I explained earlier, and do that in a public setting so that no one is forgotten. And we have presented over 200 flags in the last 2 years, and there are tens of thousands more to be presented. And we ask that communities help us do that. You know, it's one thing to have an organization, try to fundraise and present flags. But to me, it means more if the churches and the veterans organizations and the communities will reach out to those generations of families around them and make a difference personally. That will be much more powerful than anything I can do. And our goal as we travel around the country is to present we've raised enough to present at least 2 flags to families in every single state. And that is both current generation and past generation. This flag was made for a mother who was 99 years old, who lost her son in Korea in 1950. I was preparing this flag to present to her last year in February. Before I was able to present it, she passed away. And I keep this as an example that this flag is for all generations, and use it as an example for you so that you might see what we are trying to accomplish. Actually, tonight at the Rochester Weddings, we'll be presenting 2 flags, one to a Vietnam brother and one to a family who lost their son recently in Iraq. And so I tell you that's kind of an aside, but a very important piece of really what this is about. It's about touching these lives and in a very important way. And that's all really I have to say. I could talk probably for a lot longer about it. I've probably heard enough, but I'll just leave this quote with you. There's many quotes, but one I found dear once I began this was one from JFK. And what he said was, a nation reveals itself not only by the men reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but by the men it honors and the men it remembers. And, thank you. Any questions?
Tonight at the baseball game before or at the 7?
Before, 6:45, before the game starts.
Did you design the flag?
I did. I have a younger son. Thank you. my younger son and I wanted it to be, and I'm not a designer, again, divine inspiration is all I can say, because I wanted it to be attractive. I did not want it to be somber. I wanted it to be distinct and easily recognizable. And so I pulled the elements from the military symbolism that I mentioned, and symbolism people understand. Folded flag, the eternal flames, and the words. I mean, you see that flag in a parade or on anywhere, you know that it's to honor someone who has fallen, who has lost their lives. And so it's meant to be a celebration. We don't know what to say. You don't know what to say to families who have lost someone. I mean, I'm sorry for your loss. But what do you say a month from now, or a year from now? You want them to get over it, really. I mean, be honest. I heard about a pastor the other day who he'd lost his son. He was associate pastor, and he was trying to get me to come speak at his church. And he said, I really can't ask my pastor, because my pastor has told me to get over it. And that just floored me. It just floored me. So my statement to you is, when you don't know what to say, fly this flag, because you never know who's driving by. And as they understand why it's flying it, what it means, it's going to speak more than cannon fire in terms of saying something. And there's nothing to say. Anybody else? Yeah?
Where can you get it?
Online. We do have online, but actually, we brought flags. We're traveling for 5 months, so we brought stuff with us. If anybody's interested, and this is not my thing, but in a flag or other things we have, that man with a camera, see him, he'll know what to do. Anyone else?
Thank you. Thank you. We can't find him.
Christopher Simpson's family, and thanks for just being so supportive. And of course, honor and remember. We'd like to present you with your own flag, so that we believe you will proudly display this in honor of so many Rochesterians.
Yes. Western New York. Absolutely. Thank you.
Of honor and remember who lost her son, Sergeant Christopher Simpson, on March 17, 2008, when his Humvee was hit by an IED in Iraq. To present honor and remember flags to 2 families in Rochester who lost a loved one in war. First family, Mr. and Mrs. Jack Wilson. Jack lost his brother, Specialist Number 5, Gerald Wilson, on August 12, 1968, when his helicopter was shot down in Vietnam. And the second family member, Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Allen, lost their son, Nickel Allen, on September 12, 2009, when his Humvee was hit by an IED in Iraq. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. George Lutz from Honor and Remember.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and share this vision with all of you. Honor and Remember is a national symbol honoring all those that gave their lives in military service to our country. You can find out more about it on the internet, but tonight we have a special presentation because our goal is to honor those that gave that sacrifice individually for our country in military service. So we're going to honor 2 families tonight, and I'm going to read a certificate for them and then present them with a personalized flag. This Honor and Remember flag is presented with eternal gratitude and respect in memory of Gerald A. Wilson. With this flag, we honor this patriot's unwavering dedication and remember their selfless sacrifice. By displaying this symbol collectively as a nation, we humbly recognize the enormity of your loss and and we respectfully say thank you. Gerald Wilson died 12 August 1968, Vietnam. Please give this family a big welcome. Without reading the certificate again, for time, I'd like to present this flag in memory of Staff Sergeant Nickel V. Allen, who was killed in Iraq, to the Allen family on my left. Please thank them for their sacrifice of their son to this country.
Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Lutz. It's a great organization that you have, and fans, we encourage you to please log on to honorandremember.org for more information on how you can help. And also, thanks to the Wilson family and the Allen family for being here tonight. Thank you very, very much for being here. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks.
Molly, are you nearby? Molly, raise your hand. Start walking, it's fine. What an honor. You've all expressed it, what an honor. I'm glad Betsy Ross was here because she said some important things. But I'm not going to speak long, I'm just going to make a presentation. But I am humbled to be here again with this group of so many who have sacrificed so much. And to be a voice, I want to thank you that you have allowed me to be a voice, not only for your sons and daughters, but really in a way for this nation's Gold Star families in every state. And I'm not going to explain, I'm the founder of Honor and Remember, the Honor and Remember flag, and I'm not going to go into the details of that because many of you know that already, but I will say something that I believe is significant, and George Washington said it. But 3 years ago, I said we must have a flag. And I want to set myself on that mission with an emblem that would stand for the sacrifice, specifically, that those men and women have paid and that you all have endured and will endure the rest of your lives. And that is what the Honor and Remember flag is about. And I'll be here afterwards to speak to you more in detail if you like. But I am on a 50-state mission right now. I deployed myself for 5 months. And that mission is to reach every single state, to reach the legislators in those states, to reach the veterans in those states, and to reach the Gold Star families in those states. This is the 11th state. I traveled 3,500 miles to be here tonight through 11 states, and I have 40 more to go. And I will not get back to my home until November 11th, where we end in Arlington Cemetery. And I hope by the end of that trip that all 50 states will have made a commitment to endorse and adopt the Honor and Remember flag as their state symbol of remembrance. We have 15 states already that have written legislation. We have a bill in Congress. But there's still much to be done. And that is my mission, is my gift for all of you and for the generations of families that have sacrificed throughout our country's history. But tonight, as many of you may or may not know, is the Honor and Remember flag has a special and unique quality, and that is its design feature to be personalized. And today I have two special ladies that we're going to present personalized flags to. And the mother, starting with Georgie, who allowed me to do this 2 years ago, and thank you, Ruth, for this opportunity tonight, is these presentations are usually a surprise. It is my goal to reach every single family in this nation with a personalized flag. It's not always a surprise, but it gives me great pleasure to be able to surprise families, and I'm doing that tonight. And so, Ruth, would you come up, please, and read a certificate for me?
It's Molly's turn. She's national
You're both going
This honor and remember flag is presented with the eternal gratitude and respect in memory of PFC Willie F. Oxendine III. You must come up, Dorothy. With this flag, we honor this patriot's unwavering dedication and remember their selfless sacrifice. By displaying this symbol collectively as a nation, we humbly recognize the enormity of your loss and respectfully say, thank you.
I didn't explain this, but I'm going to real quickly. This flag is folded in a triangular configuration because it's the mirror of the American flag that was handed to the family at the memorialization of their loved one. And unlike the American flag, which is meant to stay folded forever, reverently and respectfully, the Honor and Remember flag is meant to be unfolded, to be displayed as a symbol of gratitude and thanks for that sacrifice for this country. Molly?
This Honor and Remember flag is presented with eternal gratitude and respect in memory of Lieutenant Jeffrey R. Sharver.
Vivian?
We honor this patriot's unwavering dedication and remember their selfless sacrifice. By displaying this symbol collectively as a nation, we humbly recognize the enormity of your loss and respectfully say thank you, and remember Grenada.
Thank you, George, for bringing these tributes to our mom.